Hello, this is Greg Allison with Galactic Gregs. What is it that the United States government, the Department of Defense, the All Anomalies Resolution Office is hiding with respect to UFO disclosure? As you might know, Congressman Tim Burchett has been asking a lot of questions about this and trying to lead interviews and get down to the bottom of this recent report that came out in UFO disclosure in general. Interestingly, he was told that he had to stop asking questions about UFOs. And he was further warned that there would be riots if the truth got out. What? I kid you not. What is this all about? Well, we're going to get down to this and a lot more in this video. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the report. We're going to talk about what it didn't say. Oh, yeah, there may be other implications. And are they trying to cover something up? Something strange. Something is really weird. And when he gets a warning like that, what is that saying? I kid you not, guys. This is strange. I'm also going to talk a little bit about my involvement in some of this, just a little bit. So buckle up. This is going to be a fairly long video, but it's going to be very informative, and you don't want to miss a minute of it. So here we go. I'm going to start with some shares for some of these different articles on these topics, because I'm not making this stuff up, my friends. I don't make this up at all. I'm just going to show you what the news had to say about it, and a little bit about my piece in it, just a little bit. To include some things about Travis Taylor and my involvement with some of his stuff too, just a little bit. But anyway, guys, here we are. This is from the Sun, and this is Tim. This is Tim Burchett. He's a congressman, I believe, from the 2nd District in Tennessee, up where Knoxville's at, which I like to call Knoxville. Anyway, he said, I was told to stop asking questions about UFOs. There's one would be riots if the truth got out. I kid you not. Literally, he was quoted as saying there would be riots if details what the U.S. really knows about UFOs was disclosed. Wow, guys. We all know that these videos came out with the Tic Tacs and the various things, and there's been a lot of other strange phenomenologies that defy generic everyday explanation. So what is this? Well, we know that report got out. Sean Kirkpatrick was the head of the All Anomalies Resolution Office, and he was responsible for generating this report. He left it to, I believe, Tim Phillips when this report was released. He was then the head of the All Anomalies Resolution Office, and he's the one that made the release. But this guy here was behind the report. Well, he's saying he's had his family threatened since this came out. They've actually been threatened. But maybe it's because he upset a lot of communities about this. He went on to say that I've had people threaten my wife and my daughter and try to break in her online accounts, and far more than I'd ever had as deputy director of the intelligence U.S. Strategic Command. And he says, I didn't have China and Russia trying to get me as much as these people are. Well, I don't know, guys. So, but it was the whole nature of what he reported and how he reported that begged the questions. And as you know, David Grutch had the summer before in July made a major testimony to Congress, to including to Tim Burchett's committee or the committee of congressmen, about disclosures, claiming that the United States government was actually in possession of vehicles and non-human biologics, whatever that means. And of course, he had two Air Force pilots, he had two pilots, and Navy pilots, I believe, excuse me, along with him, that were part of this disclosure, talking about what they saw, what they videoed. You know, these are the guys that were filming some of these Tic Tacs and such. So what are they really trying to hide? What is going on here? Well, we're going to go into this. Oh, yeah, by the way, guys, all the uncertainty going on in the world, just a little word from one of my minor sponsors here. Right now might be a good time to move in and get yourself some security with gold and silver, platinum. You can go to Defy the Grid. I'll have a link below. They got a deal. If you find a better price anywhere else, they'll meet it or beat it. You can get coins, bullion, or what I like is these gold backs, because they're fungible, small amounts. Like I got one that's 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold. Just you can put it in your wallet like a dollar bill, and that's the right level to go buy eggs and bread and just everyday things. Anyway, check them out, guys. A lot of options on here would defy the grid. Let's go on to the news now. Bang. So, according to this report, it doesn't sound like Burchett trusts the Pentagon when it comes to alleged disclosures of no UFOs. Speaking of the News Nation here, he did. So he's done some interviews about that. He's pushed this further, asking more questions, and he just got told to stop asking questions. Well, what's cooking here, guys? So that's the same from the Independence Day. So though the report was meant to debunk American suspicions that the government can confirm the presence of extraterrestrials, this guy who wrote this article said that it's not entirely convincing. He said here that one highlight of the review centered around a program that was called Kona Blue, which was aimed at capturing alien spacecraft for the purpose of reverse engineering. And this is from a website called the Giant Freaking Robot. And Politico even went into this, saying that AARO investigators discovered the existence of Kona Blue after interviewees claimed it was a Department of Homeland Insecurity program apparently to cover up retrieval and exploitation of non-human biologics. Hey, I don't know, guys, but it says that this came out of Senator Harry Reid's office. Is what got all this started, and he was a friend of Bigelow Aerospace, Bob Bigelow, who actually got hired to work for them, and they delayed my going on, and I actually called him up and told him I'm not coming. But Bigelow, had the Skinwalker Ranch at one time. He also had an organization called NINS, which was looking into this kind of technology. And you might know NINS, is not funded at the moment because he was trying to get money from the federal government to go further into this. He sold Bigelow Ranch. As you might know, they got a program out there now called Skinwalker on TV. You see Travis Walter there, or Travis Taylor. Travis Walton is a guy who seemed to be actually abducted, as y'all might have seen the movie Fire from the Sky. He lives in Snowflake, Arizona, real close to my property out there. Maybe I'll interview Walton. Maybe I actually just put a call in to Travis Taylor. I would like to interview him. I have his phone number. We were involved in some things together once upon a time. It's been a while. Anyway, so this says, if Dispel claims, for instance, that the former CIA director had been involved in managing the movement of and experimentation on extraterrestrial technology and purported, as was reported in some 1961 intelligence community document. Well, this was deemed by this report from the All Anomalies Resolution Office as being inauthentic. And to quote what they said is, all investigative efforts at all levels of classification concluded that most sightings, were ordinary objects and phenomena and the result of misidentification. We're going to go a little bit more into that, by the way. This is an article here in the Express talking about the Pentagon's bombshell reports and no alien activity. What does it mean, no alien activity? See, what they said was no alien activity. What about something else? They said extraterrestrial. Could there be U.S. government, other government, or could there be, and there's some case for that, or could there be some other kind of multidimensional involvement? Maybe it's not from elsewhere. Maybe it's from here in another dimension. Could it be? Well, there's some strange reports of these things popping in and out. How do they do that? Is that a multidimensional transfer? We'll talk about that more in a bit. That does sound strange. It's really seeming to be off the wall. But this whole phenomenology is off the wall. And the reaction of the Department of Defense, All Anomalies Resolution Office, is also leaves a lot to be desired. And then this article questions what exactly were the misidentified programs of what is the Pentagon intelligence actually working on? And this was pondered by Garrett M. Graff, who was writing for Wired. And he wanted to know about the kinds of exotic technological possibilities that might have been sourced from unknown terrestrial origins. Yeah, they said it was extraterrestrial. They didn't say that it might not be terrestrial. Is there other governments working on this? Is the U.S. government developing this? Is that what they're covering up? Or is there some other civilization living among us? Wow, maybe in another dimension, maybe underwater. What is going on here, guys? Graph, and there's an admiral who's pleased that there's an underwater civilization. We'll go on that in a minute, guys. Anyway, he said the graph referred to potential reverse engineering technologies that the adversary states like China and Russia and Iran may have perfected, which the U.S. may not have yet discovered. Maybe we don't know what it is entirely. So the report prompts questions about technologies the U.S. has developed that remain unknown to the general public. And, some of us have reason to think that that's the case. He also was linking recurrent theme in secret military and spacecraft being mistaken for UFO sightings. Oh, I've had some of my balloons that I've flown in my balloon rocket development program that I was doing over 24 years ago that also got mistaken as UFOs. So that does happen. He said, graph speculation. In fact, we had a balloon went down in a woman's backyard, and it had a big payload underneath it with a beeping locator. And she looked out her back window and saw that silver dome of the balloon after it landed in the yard, and she called the local sheriff up, and she said, there's a UFO landing in my backyard. Y'all come get this thing. Anyway, linking the reoccurring, I just read that part. But anyway, so graph speculates there may be some clandestine aircraft testing and development underway in the U.S. that remains under wraps. Well, that could be. And he said also the report poses the question about what kind of groundbreaking material science innovations defense contractors are currently developing that could revolutionize America's future. Lots of questions here. What's going on? I've done videos, I'll show it in a little bit, where we had a lot of discussion about programs that people were doing in the field that some would term as anti-gravity research, and including Ning Lee, who I'm known. I'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. Anyway, so this is so let me go back to that report just to show you the source, guys. This is from the Irish Star. Pentagon's new UFO report fails to answer 4 key questions about alien tech. Now, they don't really enumerate them as 4 directly, and you got to dig for it. I'm talking about that 63-page AARO report. The AARO report does not describe what the office found when it looked into the report of special forces loading materials into a so-called UFO. And but they, this guy's writing this. He said they assumed that this didn't pan out either, that there was nothing to it, and maybe that was the case. But he concluded, the author of this article, who is Kyle Mizukami, he said the report results are not surprising. If there was clear and verifiable proof of U.S. government involvement with aliens, and again, they didn't say there wasn't a program, they just said there was no extraterrestrial aliens. That's what that report really concluded. That's what they weren't telling us in part. But he said it would probably have surfaced long ago. He said, well, if they had aliens, that they would have found it. It is also possible that such involvement is already heavily insulated from investigation, that those who are or were involved are still strictly sworn to secrecy oaths, which in government circles come at very serious consequences for those that violate them. Did the AARO report fully investigate the vastness of the military-industrial complex? Maybe, maybe not. Good questions from Mr. Kyle Mizukami. And you can see it's talking about the debunking, something under wraps there. Who knows what that is? This is some popular mechanics. This is kind of a National Enquirer of Science. Not exactly your best source of information, but it was an interesting article to say the least. But now this article goes, well, another UFO report's a buzz. So why so many people still believe that the truth is out there? Well, maybe it's because so much stuff gets covered up, like this part, maybe many have sincerely misinterpreted real events or mistaken sensitive U.S. programs for which they are not cleared as having been related to UAP or extraterrestrial exploitation. Well, what are these programs? Now, this is from Tim Phillips. He's the guy that took over from Kirkpatrick, Mr. Tim Phillips. And he was the guy in charge of the AARO when they made the report. So he was the guy doing the speaking at that time. He did say that the people that made these accounts did so without malice or any effort to mislead the public. Aha. So he's saying, well, these people were generally honest, trying to be, but maybe they were just mistaken. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, y'all might remember this is one of the earlier testimonies before the big one last July, pointing out the tic tacs and so forth. That's where this segment of this picture comes from, those earlier videos. Deputy Director of Navy Intelligence Scott Bray pointing out some of these UAP flights. Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence actually was involved in what seemed to be the beginnings of a soft disclosure. But that got shut down by the report that was written or written under the guidance of none less than, remember the Tic Tac videos? That's what they were showing. Under the guidance of the AARO with Sean Kirkpatrick when he was over it. It was his writings. Former U.S. Admiral leads search for underwater alien USOs. That's unidentified subsurface or sea, whatever objects. That's the ones at sea. Crash object off coast of California, possible underwater UFO, says this Admiral Timothy Gaudet. It's this guy here. He is the former head of the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's like NASA. This guy thinks there's something to this. He said that sonar indicated an object had crashed into a ridge and then skidded to a halt. He's talking about all kind of phenomenology in here. He's the same one. It was at a sub-sea ridge. I don't know. Phenomena in our oceans, the tropical eastern and western Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean, Mediterranean, and Indian Ocean, and the North Atlantic and eastern seaboard. He said several dozen U.S. naval officers was witnessing this stuff and reporting it to him. And he further said, I cannot explain this feature. There's a feature apparently off the coast of California. There's a lot of discussion about it. You may have seen it on my friend Rex Baer's Leak Project program. He actually showed this. He said, I cannot explain this feature and therefore want to use an ROV, or remotely operated underwater vehicle, to dive from a ship to capture video of it. Why haven't we done this already? It's just off the darn coast of California. This may allow us to identify its detailed characteristics and potentially determine what caused it. Why has this not been done already? With all the stuff we do under the ocean, why is this still supposedly a mystery? Now, this guy was the head, again, of the NOAA. Like I said, that's the equivalent of NASA. They're the guys that bring you the weather. Jeez. Okay, also, just in other just strange related news that's been released recently, and we'll go through a few of these things like this. This guy's been tagged as one of these kind of guys, but he claims he got video from a live stream of the International Space Station that included this vehicle from the public feeds going through the atmosphere. Looks kind of like my good buddy, what's his name? John Powell. He had this concept for a balloon shaped this way, called it the Ascender. Well, it's also been reported that there have been UFOs shaped like this too, including the one that sourced the Phoenix lights. Does that look familiar? Does that look like what might have generated the Phoenix lights? Maybe it's maybe somebody did their own Ascender program. Giant boomerang. What was it? Might have been an offshoot or somebody. It's like sometimes inventions get started by different groups. Just look up JP Aerospace and you'll find his Ascender. I should have pulled that up. But I'm a good friend of John Powell. I actually put a payload he made on my Cat's Prize rocket to launch out over the Gulf of Mexico from a balloon-bearing rocket. Anyway, so with my Altitude Research Corporation, I was president of for so many years. But this stuff is, even after this report got listed by the AARO, all kind of crazy reports are still pouring in, like swarms of so-called UFOs or drones or whatever they are spotted near nuclear assets at Langley Air Force Base, near our naval bases in Norfolk, Virginia. Now, this is coming to us, again, from the Irish Star, but it's also reported in War News. Excuse me, the War Zone. The War Zone. Mysterious drones swarm Langley Air Force Base for weeks. Weeks. And this is just coming out, guys, at the end of March. And again, this is where we got a lot of sensitive stuff. You know, this is the area that defends Washington, D.C. Wow. And so they scrambled aircraft, including one of NASA's WB-57 high-flying research planes, to try to figure out what this stuff was. Now, it could have been Chinese drones. Now, going back to Travis Taylor, one of the things, he was actually one of the Department of Defense investigators on this topic of what was going on. You know, there were some drone-looking aircraft that were buzzing some of our naval ships off California. And he investigated that and says, well, they look like they might have been drones. Except the problem was, how did they get this far away? Because drones, batteries in drones, or any drone technology we had at the time, would not have permitted them to have traveled that far. On the other hand, that could have been balloon released. I've done videos of how the Chinese program to release drones from high-altitude balloons. Or it could be that the Chinese had already perfected that 50-year battery, which are just starting to release, which uses a nuclear source inside of a diamond as a long-term energy source. But it takes a lot of them to make enough energy to drive a drone, so that's still hard to swallow too. Yikes, what is going on here, guys? Something is happening. And, you know, just as it's been reported for some time, I think I skipped over one of those previous reports, that they're still looking into activities near nuclear. I probably should scroll down one of those articles. There's still, that report from the AARO still leaves open, they're looking into reports of anomalies around our nuclear test sites, our nuclear power plants, and in particular the claim that one of our intercontinental ballistic missiles was disabled by a UFO back in, I believe it was 64. Anyway, UFO nuke mystery goes global. Indian newspapers report craft flying over nuclear power plants for every few days, repeatedly. What is this all about? And maybe it's Chinese drones, but I don't know what that is. Anyway, so this is a very interesting report here. Just a lot of strange stuff is still happening. The AARO report didn't shut down strangeness. What is it? Ex-British military special force paratroopers claims UK captured military, the UK military captured a crashed alien UFO. Well, does he know it's alien? That's just an assumption a lot of people make. If it's something that we don't recognize, we like to say it's alien. Well, is it? Is it not? What is it? Non-human UFO. Well, non-human don't even mean alien necessarily. You can't rule out other possibilities. Now, there's this one scientist here claiming that aliens could have already visited Earth, and we might have just missed them. Maybe she's claiming they may have blended in with nature, or came at a time before we were who we are today. She said if aliens did come to Earth, they are millions of years in the past, when what she's saying, there's periods of millions of years in the past when they could have visited, and we really weren't human just yet. Basically, we weren't people yet, is what she said, literally. So, and she goes into the Drake equation, a lot of other stuff. I don't know, guys. This is conjecture, but you know, she just said, how could it be that they're not being here? When you look at the Fermi paradox, they should be here in spades, but we don't see them. Then, of course, there's this dark forest theory that a lot of people says explains why, or could explain why we've not heard from them yet. And according to this, most species would be predator in nature, that only the predators would survive. The non-predators would be taken over by the predators out there in the universe, and that civilizations would want to stay dark. They would want to stay quiet, even the predators, so that they wouldn't be captured or taken by a bigger force later down the road. That if you were a developing civilization, even Steve Hawkins warned us that we really shouldn't be announcing our presence in the universe. It might be dangerous. And yet we're like that little chick that we're a brand new civilization. We're a baby among civilizations. So we're like that little chick that's just cracked out of the egg, and we're all excited, running around peeping and chirping because we're so excited to be here. Yet the hawk might be sitting up at the tree just silently watching. You know, most predators, you know, a lot of them, like say the big cats, are ambush hunters. You don't hear them, you don't see them until they jump you. Then it's too late. Yikes, guys. But it goes deeper than that. As you may know, on this channel, I've done a lot of videos. I have over 4 decades of engineering experience working aerospace systems, serious hardware programs for years and years. I have worked quite a number of rocket programs, space station programs. I've worked some military programs like the F-15, the M1 tank. I've got a lot of experience just doing real, regular, everyday hardware type programs. A lot of my videos reflect that, like my video here talking about the mighty F-1 moon rocket engine, talking about the air turbo rocket, talking about different things here. But the most popular videos on this channel have to do with anti-gravity research. And actually, when I first made these videos, I did it in 2 parts because it was so long. But due to popularity of this, I decided to re-release it as a single video, especially after Amy passed away, who was one we were interviewing. If you watch this video, you will actually hear me asking a lot of questions in here and talking to her. And this was a room full of engineers, of present and former, and that's actually her dad there, a present and former top level advanced program programmatic people and researchers. Her dad was actually doing a lot of this research himself at NASA, and she decided that she would start an institute to try to fund this stuff. And I was asking questions about it because I actually started a company, or was involved in a startup company called Transdimensional Technologies. And I may do a special video on that, what happened with that. We had funding, and I tried to get us more. And I actually got kind of disillusioned with my principal investigator. And so when I had a chance to sell that company out to my investor, who was invested in both, I got the investor for Transdimensional Technologies lined up because he was also my investor, my Hart Catch Prize rocket. He bought my stock in TDT out to finish developing our Catch Prize rocket. So it gave me a quick game there, something I could actually, something tangible I could do something with. More on that stuff later. I might do a special video on that in the not too distant future. We also talked about Ning Lee in this video. Ning Lee was a local investigator, research scientist who was working on gravity research, and she went black, worked for the Army. What kind of program was that? We don't know what the technology was there. That is not seen anymore. We know what she started with, but more on that later. I'm hoping to do a special. I'll do actually interview her son in not too distant future. So I'll cover more on that. So let's move on, guys. So I've also done this video not from space. I made quite a case for whatever this is not being from space based on our lack of evidence of extraterrestrial civilizations. We should be seeing Dyson spheres. Now, maybe we've got a hint or two of them. We should be seeing evidence of extraterrestrial civilizations out there in the universe, and we don't see it. And again, it could be the dark forest, but I do have other ideas for why we may not, because it seems there's a lot of something going on in our skies, and it has been for a long time. We'll talk about the historical aspect of it, which suggests it may not all be human. And it may predate any programs that we have on it, but then there may be some military technologies. This is a video done by my friend Diamond over an Oppenheimer Ranch project. And this was the Oppenheimer Ranch video. His property there used to belong to, I believe it's the brother or uncle, some relative of the Oppenheimer that was involved in the development of our atom bomb. This video shows the Malaysian Flight 370 disappearing. It actually, in this video, you see 3 strange objects surround this aircraft, flying circles around it, and all 3 of those objects and aircraft vanish in this video. And apparently it's correlated with satellites and other data. So there's several data points that correlate this event. And this individual who's doing research on this, trying to dig up what really happened here, is Ashton Forbes. Ashton Forbes, he actually got quite involved in this, and he believes this is an American program of some type, some dark, deep technology. Now, I don't know, guys. I'm not claiming this is or isn't true, but I'm going to try to contact this guy. Maybe I'll do a video with him. But just see it there. Some strange orbs come into the picture. They encounter the plane, and first there's one, and there's the second one, and then there's 3, and then the plane goes poof. Now, there have been many attempts to debunk this. There's even been
upwards of $140,000 reward to debunk it. That has since been taken off the table because there are debunk hoaxers. And we're going to get to the bottom of the latest updates with Ashton and a new piece of the puzzle. This real creepy stories.
All right, I'm not going to play any more of that because I don't want to get a strike for it. But guys, this video is on Oppenheimer Ranch Project YouTube channel, and I will try to interview Ashton myself in the not too distant future. That is creepy. It's definitely, whatever that is, whatever happened, I don't know, but it's really weird and creepy. It kind of suggests maybe something went on. But if we have these kind of technologies, one reason to hide this kind of stuff and keep it buried could be the result of what happens if you have this kind of technology. What happens if it's easy to replicate? What happens if suddenly all kind of groups around the world could develop these systems? And, you know, there's been a lot of phenomenology that suggests that some of these things just pop in and out, like those three orbs. They appear, they disappear, like the aircraft, that they have some kind of capability to pop in and out where they want. What if you had the ability to cohere zero-point energy and release it, which some people say may have the energy equivalent of 10 to the, I believe, 37 ergs or joules per cubic centimeter vacuum space? If you could release that all at once, it would be stronger than an atom bomb. What if you could build a device and just send it anywhere you want? You know, it might be like the end of the world, like we saw in the movie The Forbidden Planet. Can we handle this kind of technology even? A lot of questions about that. Maybe I should do a specific video talking about that. But I did more or less on my Green Greg's channel, and I did a video called A Nuke in Every Pot. And that just kind of was focused on technologies that might be easily developed that could bring about the end of civilization as we know it. And I think I primarily focused on biological research. But this was 4 years ago, long before the cough bug broke out, that I released this. Yikes, guys. Now we see all kind of developments. So you really got to wonder. You might want to go to Green Greg's channel and look for A Nuke in Every Pot and watch that video. All right, guys. So here we are. And we're going to go a little bit more into this here. I do, because I believe in freedom. I think that there's ways to manage this kind of stuff, that we could live with it, but we got to learn to live peaceably among ourselves. That was one of the key messages in this. If we develop this kind of technology, we can't have a world full of hatred like we have today. And with all the potential war, with all the wars and potential wars in the world today, we're not in that kind of spot. Somehow we've got to learn to tamp down the hatreds that we have in the world if we're going to live at peace with ourselves or survive as a civilization. Because even without unconventional breakthrough technologies, we may be on the verge of wiping ourselves out, even just with biologics. Guys, we've got to learn to get along. So that's an important thing. But I believe we can do that and do it freely. That's why I've developed this website that I pay for out of my pocket, an organization that we've got, Freedom Restoration Foundation. You might want to check that out. It's right there. It's also, we got a group on Facebook and a group on MeWe. All right. So if this were all human derived, and it could be, because if you saw those that videos with Amy that I did as the first videos I ever posted on this channel, in fact, the most popular videos on this Galactic Greg's channel, there's plenty of research that people have been doing in this area for 100 years, over 100 years. And so there may be the prospects that there's quite a bit of human-derived technology that we have at our fingertips today. And that may be what the video with Diamond over in Oppenheimer Ranch Project with Ashton Forbes is talking about, guys. So if you look back through history, it was reported by some that Alexander the Great saw things coming out of the sea. There was, it's reported they were silvery shields. And as you may know, he actually developed a submarine type vehicle to which he ordered to lower him down to the ocean. He probably had the first ever submarine, and he was basically looking for these things. He thought they were from Atlantis. I don't know, guys. That's what Alexander the Great, the greatest conqueror in human history, except maybe Genghis Khan, come up with. Well, and that's not the only source, guys. There's the Sanskrit from India, talking about a UFO from in the Vedas, in the ancient Vedas, talking about a UFO visits from 4000 BC, 6,000 years ago. And then there's the stuff written in cuneiform from the Sumerians, the Anunnaki Tales of the Anunnaki. What's that all about? Sitchin thought that meant aliens. They don't necessarily mean aliens, guys. That was Sitchin's interpretation of it. But if you go back through artwork, a lot of artwork out there from hundreds of years back depict strange vehicles. I can't get this one to come up. Yeah, the sky is full of UFOs. It was that wood burning, I believe, the 1500s in Germany, I think it was, where skies, somebody's witnessing look like a battle in the skies, or just all kind of weird stuff. And then you find the petroglyphs in rock, like throughout Utah and Arizona, all through the West, that the ancient Indians made. And a lot of these look like ghosts, according to the Holy Ghost group. Are they ghosts? Some people think they're aliens. I don't know what they are, but there's petroglyphs near my location, even in Arizona. Oh, guys, what is this? But this is what some of the latest thinking leans toward, and this is kind of where I've been leaning for some time for various reasons I'm not going to go into tonight, maybe later today. UFOs are demonic aliens visiting from other dimensions in this latest theory. Well, they may not be, what do you mean by aliens? It may not be extraterrestrial. It may be multidimensional. They're talking about the theories of the multiverse, of multiple dimensions, and more is coming out on that. I've done some talks on some of my channels talking about, or actually on other people's channels, like the Elite Project, talking about my theory of the universe and a solo cup. Like I'm going to do a special video on that in a not too distant future. I hope I've got most of the PowerPoint done on it way back. Just waiting for the right opportunity and time to do it. But here's something really disturbing. This quote has always stuck with me because it's very haunting and it kind of rings true to me. This is from Terence McKenna. Now, he used some mind-altering substances supposedly to visit other dimensions. He come up with this book, Time Wave Zero. Some of you, or his theory, Time Wave Zero, which a lot of you have probably heard about. But he made a strange quote. He said, "We are part of a symbiotic relationship with something which disguises itself as an extraterrestrial invasion so as not to alarm us." Excuse me, the truth is more alarming than an extraterrestrial invasion? Wow, guys, I don't know. That is strange. That is strange indeed. So, which kind of brings me back to my buddy Travis Taylor. Now, Travis, as I said, he's a local scientist from my area here. He might have seen him on that Geo's Rocket City Rednecks. Now he's on his own show now with the Skinwalker Ranch. Well, out there, he actually got radiation poisoning from some anomaly in the air that you couldn't even see it. It really made him sick. At Skinwalker Ranch. What happened to him? What was that? I mean, there's just a lot we don't know, guys. Is it some multidimensional entity? Is it some negative force? What is it, guys? You tell me. What do you think? I'm not saying right now, but he did one time ponder ways to take out aliens if they were to attack Earth. And he was part of this Nat Geo special when aliens attacked. He actually got me in on that special. I'm actually in the special. I'll show you in a little bit. I was supposed to have a speaking part, but I didn't exactly agree with his methodology. He brought me in to talk about what we could do with balloons to take out aliens if we got into a war with them. And I had topics of how the balloons could, in the upper atmosphere, lasers don't distort like lasers fired from the ground. I was going to talk about his platforms for firing lasers or his reflectors for ground-based lasers that we shoot straight up instead of across the atmosphere where they lose so much of their strength to be as ineffective. How you can use them for rocket launch platforms like I use for intelligence platforms, or to replace your communication systems if the satellites are taken out. I was talking really everyday generic kind of stuff. He said here, I war gamed over 400 different scenarios to figure out if we had any chance based on certain levels of technology. And out of the 400, I only came up with one scenario where humanity actually ended up surviving. He said, but I don't surrender to ET just yet. So over time, low-tech insurgent tactics might wear down to aliens. And that could be true if we did get an invasion. He said the old ideas of guerrilla warfare out of ambush and raid are the type of things that could be successful. That was actually a statement from Lieutenant Colonel Brian DeToy, excuse me. But his approach here was to use balloons. Now, I can tell you what he thought wouldn't work and why. That's why I left the set of the filming before my speaking part come up, because when I heard his scenarios, I just didn't think that they were at all workable. You needed some other approach. But that's what actually got aired, was what his approach. This is me right here wearing shorts and a white hat, participating in this balloon launch. I was the president of HARC. That's Bill Brown behind me. He actually did speak in this video. This is no longer on the Nat Geo site. Most YouTube channels that have had this documentary covered and posted have taken it down and been taken down, probably because it's a copyright violation. So I hope it's okay for me just to knock the sound out, just to talk. You're supposed to have fair use of even copyright technology if you edit and talk over it. Well, especially if you're the star in the program. I'm in the program here. I was in a couple other scenes just being involved with the balloon. And here, let's see, I'm about to walk out right here wearing that hat. That's me right there, before I had long hair. As you know, some of you know, I've done a lot of balloon work over the years, to include balloon launches and launch of rockets from balloons. I've covered a fair bit of that on this channel. But we wind up coming back to this statement. This is what really haunts me now. I was told to stop asking questions about UFOs. Warned there would be riots if the truth got out. U.S. Congressman told to shut up. Say what? There's something. There's something. There's something. What are they hiding? What are they hiding? Well, we do know that there are people involved in research programs for developing anti-gravity type or technologies that would at least look like anti-gravity. It may not actually be anti-gravity, but it's to develop forces that would counter gravity. Ning Lee was working on gravity modification experiments using superconductors. Superconductor technology developed by the University of Alabama in Huntsville. That's where she was at. And that's where she concluded her career. After she left UAH, she started a company, and then she went on contract with the U.S. Army. And you didn't hear from her for a long time. People were really wondering, where did she go? Where did she go? What happened to her? I plan to do a video on that. I'll do a video on Amy, hopefully, in the not too distant future. That's kind of personal, and it's kind of a hard story, so I may not get much cooperation for that story. She was very ill physically, unfortunately, and she passed away. So there's a lot of questions. I've been involved in a couple of research efforts in this point, and that's why you hear me in that video asking a lot of questions like I was asking, because the funding for these things is a very difficult proposition. Things tend to get buried, things tend to turn black, and people involved in these technologies tend to disappear. Maybe they go black. Maybe they just start pushing daisies. I don't know, guys, but something seems to be afield. What happened with that aircraft, the Indonesian aircraft? What happened there? Was that anything? The video is really interesting. The so-called correlation with satellite data is really interesting. So is that a U.S. program? If it is, we've got some phenomenal technology. It doesn't mean we'd necessarily win in a conflict, but the other side may have it too. And because if it's that deep, that dark, that secret, it's probably don't exist at scale. It's scale enough to wage a full-blown war. Just like our special purpose high-tech missiles. You use a few, you take out some of the high priority targets at first, and then you're down to just using regular artillery. That's what wins a war these days. And we were really short on that, by the way, if we get into conflict with China or North Korea, maybe even. So, guys, there's a lot that begs questions right now. I will do some digging, but I got to be very careful. I'm also a little conservative on what I talk about with my own involvement with these things, because in part I'm under some NDAs, and in part also this is a very sensitive area, and I don't want to squash my opportunities working with aerospace companies either. So, and I don't want to come across like a kook, because it's not my intention here. I'm just reporting. I am reporting what is out there, what's been done. If you go back to that meeting, the earliest videos on my channel, the most popular videos on my channel, you can click my channel, click videos, and you can click the tab for popular, and you'll see that stuff pop up. Watch those videos. They are interesting. Now, there was some noise in the library when that was being filmed because they were doing some construction, unfortunately. I don't wonder if that was scheduled for when we were doing this. I don't know, but it was kind of interfering with the program a little bit. My apologies for that. I can't help what was going on in the background. But that video, look, guys, that was a room full of serious engineers and scientists. It wasn't general public people asking very pointy questions and had a lot of discussions among themselves. Nobody was laughing. Nobody was giggling. Everybody took it serious. Everyone. What we do know is what the report from the AARO said is there's no extraterrestrial technologies. Might have been right. Could have been true. If not, maybe it's something they were sweeping under the rug, because they just told Tim Burchett to stop asking questions, that there would be riots in America if the truth came out. Why riots? Would it be just to be mad? What? We've had technology that we could not even have to pay for fuel to heat our homes and drive our cars. We could be using free energy. I don't know. Or maybe just the details, the nature of the cover-up is just so far over. Or maybe it goes back to Tim McKenna's quotation. Maybe we can't handle the truth. Maybe we can't handle the technology. I don't know, guys. There's something strange under the rug. Something strange. What is it? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think about all this? I'd like to hear your comments. I'm sure we're going to get some interesting comments from this video. Subscribe, bang the notification bell, and click all. Please subscribe to my channel. I should have said that up front. And if you watched it this far, say, Greg, I like your hourglass. That way I know you watched it this far. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. And with that, I'm going to say, just be careful and keep your eyes wide open, guys. Who knows what's going down in the world today? It is crazy out there and up there and under the sea and all around us. I don't know, guys. Strange stuff. It don't add up. That's the bottom line. It just don't add up. Thank you for watching. Greg out.